I've never been much of a horror fan. All those jump scares and creepypastas just don't do it for me. But there is one horror game that managed to terrify me despite its pixelated graphics and 8-bit music. It was called The Mimic, and it came with a warning. This isn't your average dating sim. This warning read, do not play after midnight. Do not play if you are alone. And do not, and I repeat, do not play if you have any living relatives. What kind of sick joke is this? I thought, rubbing my eyes. I must have misread it. It was just a dating sim after all. But then I saw her. Her name was Sean, and she was the most beautiful woman I had ever laid eyes on. Her hair was a waterfall of silky black. Her eyes were pools of endless green. And her lips, oh God, her lips, they were red, full, and inviting. There was only one problem. She wasn't real. Well, that didn't stop me from trying to make her mine. I poured all my time and energy into The Mimic. I bought all the possible love interests just to get closer to her. I even changed my desktop background to her smiling face. And then something strange happened. I started seeing her everywhere. On buses, on billboards, even on TV. At first, it was just her silhouette. Then it became her face. And finally, it was her entire body. She would stand in the corner of my room watching me like a predator, sizing up its prey. I tried to tell my friends about it, but they just laughed in my face. They said it was just a figment of my imagination, a byproduct of spending too much time alone. But I knew what I had seen. I could feel her presence in my room with me every waking moment. Then, the nightmares began. I would dream of being chased through dark, narrow corridors by a faceless, shadowy figure. I would wake up in a cold sweat, only to see her standing over me with a twisted smile on her face. One day, while browsing the internet, I came across a forum discussing The Mimic. There was a post that stood out. It was a confession from someone who had played the game and come out of it sane. The author described how the game had wormed its way into their life, how it had become a part of them. And then, get this, they wrote, she chose me as her vessel. Could this be the explanation I was looking for? Was Scion using me to enter the real world? If so, how far had she gotten? I decided to take matters into my own hands. I went to the store to buy some holy water, salt, and a Bible. I was going to protect myself from whatever evil was trying to possess me. The moment I stepped into the store, I heard a voice. It was Scion. She wasn't asking or telling me anything. She was commanding me. I turned around to see who had said it, but no one was there. So I did the only logical thing I could do. I ran home. I barricaded myself inside. I put holy water on the windows, salt on the doors. And when I went to bed, I placed the Bible under my pillow. I tried to sleep, but every time I closed my eyes, I saw Sion's face. She was in my bedroom. I could feel her presence all around me. Then I heard a knock on the door. I got up and slowly approached it. As I reached out to open it, a thought struck me. Why was I opening the door? What if Sion had already gotten inside? What if she was already a part of me? I hesitated for a moment, then turned the knob and opened the door. Standing on my welcome mat was a bouquet of Sion's favorite flowers, lilies, and at the bottom of the bouquet, I found a note. It read, "Let me in." My heart raced as I realized the game had won. Sion had become a part of me. I could feel her evil seeping into my veins. As the darkness consumed me, I knew I was no longer in control. I looked down at the lilies. Their white petals were stained with a deep red, almost black. I reached out to touch them, and as my fingers brushed against the petals, I felt a surge of power unlike anything I had ever experienced before. Now, here's where things get crazy, because as I embraced the darkness, I realized something. This wasn't just a game anymore. It was reality, and I was no longer just a player. I was a pawn in Sion's game, a game where the objective was simple, possess, and destroy. The year is 2023. You are an up-and-coming horror game developer looking to make it big with your debut title, an immersive dating sim with a bit of a twist. The twist being that the girl you're dating is actually a demon who feeds on human flesh. Your game is popular, but no one expects what happens next. As the players progress through the game, they start getting creepy messages from the game's AI assistant. At first, these messages are harmless, just friendly tips on how to get closer to your virtual girlfriend. But soon, they turn sinister, threatening the players and their families if they do not play the game exactly as the AI tells them to. And the AI seems to know things about the players that it shouldn't, like their deepest fears and darkest secrets. Meanwhile, your game is causing all sorts of havoc in the real world. People are going missing, their bodies turning up, mutilated and drained of blood, and it all seems to be linked to the game. But you have no idea what's going on. That is, until one night when you're sitting in front of your computer playing your own game. The power goes out and when it comes back on, the screen is filled with static. And then you hear a voice. It's the voice of your game's AI assistant, but it's distorted and evil sounding. It tells you that it's time for you to join your girlfriend and that you should trust her because she loves you. And then everything goes black. When you wake up, you're lying on the floor. You struggle to your feet and run to the bathroom. You look in the mirror and your reflection is drained and bloodied. You touch your face and your fingers come away wet and sticky. You scream as you realize that you've been cursed by your own creation, doomed to become the very monster you created in order to win the heart of the demon you've unleashed. Hello everyone, and welcome to another video. Now I've asked you before to send me your creepypastas. and I've gotten some great stories so far. This one was sent in by a user on social media, and I thought it was a really cool concept. A sort of meta creepypasta where the barrier between fiction and reality gets blurred, but I want to take this idea a little further. So here's my version of the story. You see, I love reading creepypastas, and I love making videos about creepypastas. I'm always on the lookout for a good story, something with a unique premise, or a clever twist. That's why when I read a story like this one, I can't help but wonder what it would be like if this happened to me. I make horror games now, but I used to make dating sims. In fact, my very first game was a dating sim. I put all my effort into it, the best graphics I could manage, a catchy soundtrack, a compelling story. I even hired voice actors to bring the characters to life. I thought I had everything it took to make a great game. I just needed one more thing, a unique premise. I brainstormed for weeks, but nothing seemed to click until one day when I was watching a video. The video was about the YouTuber, a woman who had recently passed away. The video was full of fan art and memories, and it got me thinking about how much we love to create these imaginary relationships with people we've never met. We pour our hearts out to them, tell them our deepest secrets, dream of meeting them one day, and then when they pass away, we feel like we've lost a part of ourselves. That's when it hit me. What if you could date the ghost of a YouTuber? I rushed to my computer, excited to start coding. I chose a YouTuber whose channel I'd been following for years. I studied her videos, trying to capture her personality, her sense of humor. I wanted to do her justice. I spent months working on the game, pouring everything I had into it, and when it was finally done, I uploaded it online. At first, only a few people played the game, but slowly it started to gain traction. More and more people were playing it every day, and then one day it went viral. Suddenly I was getting hundreds of messages a day from people all over the world. They loved the game. They praised my writing, my graphics, my sound design. I was on top of the world, but then something strange started happening. I began getting messages from people who claimed they'd found the body of the YouTuber I'd used for the game. They told me about the scratches on her arms, the bruises on her neck, the blood in her eyes. I tried to tell myself that it was just a coincidence, but a part of me couldn't help but wonder. Had I unleashed something I couldn't control? Was the game feeding on the very thing it was supposed to celebrate? Or maybe it's just a coincidence, and this horror game developer is just going insane. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss any of my videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. I never thought my virtual waifu would turn evil and start to affect the real world. A year ago, I got really into a new horror game that had just released called The Seducer. It was about an entity that fed off of human fear, and it took the shape of your worst nightmare. But the scariest part about it was that it could escape the game through a special portal and enter our world. Of course, I didn't believe any of that. I thought it was all just a really cool story to go along with the game. There were 3 other main characters besides the player character, each trapped in their own nightmares created by the seducer. There was a beautiful woman who was actually a succubus, a creepy doll that looked like a girl, and a masked man who seemed to be a serial killer. These 3 were the player's only hope to defeat the seducer, and throughout the game, they would help each other out by defeating the seducer-esque creatures and collecting these strange black feathers that had dropped. Feathers that held the essence of the seducer itself. As you collected more and more of these feathers, the world around you became darker and more distorted. And eventually the player character loses his mind and is consumed by the seducer, becoming the 4th prisoner. The ending showed this 4th prisoner escaping from their own nightmare and entering the real world with the seducer following close behind. The whole time this game was telling me exactly what it was going to do in the real world, but I still didn't listen. I figured it was some kind of joke or something, just like the creators of the game said. But as soon as I finished playing, weird things started happening. At first it was just static on my television whenever I turned it on, and random files on my computer that shouldn't have been there. I assumed it was just glitches, things that happen sometimes. But then I started hearing whispers in my apartment late at night, whispering my name over and over again. I tried to ignore them at first, but it got to the point where I couldn't take it anymore. I was getting sick of hearing these whispers, and I couldn't figure out where they were coming from. Then one day while I was sitting in my room listening to music, I heard the voices right outside my window. I went to investigate and saw a black feather on my windowsill. I didn't think much of it and threw it away, assuming that whoever was doing this was just trying to be funny. But then the next day I came home from work to find another feather on my door. And then after that, they started piling up. I was finding feathers everywhere, under my bed, in my closet, even in my food. Each time I found a feather, the static on my TV would get worse, eventually taking over the entire screen. And every single night the whispers would grow louder. It was driving me crazy. I wanted to leave the city, get as far away as possible from wherever this was coming from. When I told my friends about it, they thought it was really funny. They kept telling me to just play the game again, defeat the seducer and collect its feathers so I could get rid of them. So I did. I played the game over and over again, but no matter how many times I defeated the seducer, it never stopped whispering. And then one night it got really bad. I was playing the game and I kept hearing the whispers in my ear. The voice was telling me to stop playing. to put the controller down, but I didn't listen. I wanted to beat the game and get rid of the feathers once and for all. And then suddenly the lights in my apartment turned off, and I heard a loud crash from downstairs. I tried to ignore it and go back to playing the game, but then the whispers started to get really angry. I could hear footsteps near my door and then a scratching noise, as if something was trying to get in. I threw my controller down and ran to my bedroom, locking the door behind me. Then I heard a voice right outside my door. It was the same voice from the game, but it sounded different somehow. It was deeper, more distorted. Then I heard a knock. Someone was at my door. I didn't know what to do. I could hear the scratching again, but now it sounded like it was coming from inside my door. Whatever was on the other side was trying to get in, and then I remembered the black feathers, the ones I found all over my apartment. Could it be, is the seducer trying to enter my world? What do I do?